The hidden reason you don't miss people who left. You thought you'd fall apart when they left. You prepared yourself for the crash, but it never came. And now you're wondering what's wrong with you. The silence after. It's been weeks, maybe months. You check your phone less. Their name doesn't sting anymore. You're fine. And that terrifies you. Because if you don't miss them, what does that say about you? Were you ever really connected? Were you just playing a role? The guilt sits heavier than the grief ever did. The attachment paradox. Here's what psychology knows that you don't. Missing someone isn't about how much you loved them. It's about how you were trained to need them. In attachment theory, we form what's called a proximity maintenance system. Your brain builds neural pathways around the presence of certain people, like tree roots wrapping around a stone. But here's the paradox. When someone becomes part of your identity architecture, when you can't tell where you end and they begin, your brain doesn't register their absence as loss. It registers it as liberation. You're not broken. You're recovering. You're not cold. You're not incapable of love. You're experiencing what neuroscientists call regulatory relief. When a relationship requires you to constantly manage someone else's emotional state, your nervous system lives in a state of hypervigilance. Your amygdala, the brain's threat detector, stays partially activated, always scanning, always adjusting, always performing. When they leave, that system finally powers down, and what you're feeling isn't emptiness, it's quiet. Your brain is finally allowed to rest. The scaffolding theory of self. Think of your identity like a building under construction. Some relationships are part of the foundation. Others are just scaffolding, temporary support structures you mistake for the building itself. When scaffolding is removed, the building doesn't collapse. It reveals what was actually holding you up all along. You. This is why you don't miss them. Your brain has recognized the difference. The cognitive dissonance researcher Leon Festinger would call this belief realignment. You thought you needed the scaffolding, but your nervous system knew better, and now your conscious mind is catching up. The neurochemistry of letting go. Here's what's happening inside your brain. 1. Dopamine recalibration. You were once conditioned to expect reward from their presence. Texts, validation, connection. When that reward stream stops, your brain doesn't mourn, it rewires. Within 60 to 90 days, your dopamine pathways begin reassigning value to new sources. This is neuroplasticity in action. 2. Oxytocin withdrawal that never comes. Oxytocin is the bonding hormone. It should flood your system with longing when someone leaves. But if the relationship was emotionally taxing, your brain may have already down-regulated oxytocin receptors while they were still around. You were detaching long before they left. You just didn't know it yet. 3. Cortisol normalization. Chronic stress from the relationship kept your cortisol elevated. When they left, your HPA axis, the stress response system, finally reset. You're not numb, you're regulated. A framework for understanding your peace. If you're struggling to accept that you feel okay, try this. Step 1. Separate love from need. Ask yourself, did I love who they were, or did I need what they provided? Love is additive. Need is substitutive. Step 2. Identify the emotional labor. List the invisible work you did, the monitoring, the translating, the soothing. This isn't blame, it's data. Your nervous system was tracking it even when you weren't. Step 3. Recognize grief disguised as relief. Sometimes we grieve the idea of the person, not the reality. You might miss the version of them you hoped they'd become. That's not the same as missing who they actually were. Step 4. Honor the detachment timeline. Detachment often begins 6 to 18 months before a relationship ends. Your subconscious was already saying goodbye. The formal ending was just paperwork. Step 5. Redefine what missing means. Missing someone doesn't always mean longing. Sometimes it's just noticing the space. And space isn't empty, it's potential. Here's the mental model to carry forward. Think of your emotional life like a garden. Some people are perennials. They belong in the soil, roots deep, returning every season. Others are annuals, beautiful, necessary for a time, but not meant to stay. When an annual dies, you don't replant it in the same spot. You let the soil rest. You let new things grow. Not missing someone doesn't mean they didn't matter. It means they completed this cycle, and your nervous system knows the difference between an ending and a failure. You're not heartless. You're not damaged. You're just someone whose brain finally feels safe enough to stop searching for what it no longer needs. That's not indifference. That's integration. And maybe the reason you don't miss them is because you finally stopped missing